The sky burned orange and red as another explosion lit up the colony. Do-hyun pressed his back against a broken wall and tried to catch his breath. His ears were ringing from the blast that had hit their position just moments ago. Dust and smoke filled the air, making it hard to see more than a few meters ahead. Nova 7 was dying. The mining colony had been caught between two armies, and now it was paying the price. Buildings that once housed thousands of workers were now nothing but rubble and fire. The streets were empty, except for the bodies of those who could not escape in time. Do-hyun checked his rifle and looked at his squad. There were only 4 of them left. Ji-won crouched beside him, blood running down from a cut on his forehead. 2 other soldiers, young men whose names Do-hyun barely remembered, huddled behind an overturned vehicle. "Command says evac ships are 3 clicks north," Ji-won said, his voice rough. "We need to move." Do nodded. The Kira forces were pushing hard from the east. Their blue plasma bolts streaked through the smoke like angry fireflies. The aliens had been fighting humanity for 10 long years now. They called humans invaders, thieves who had stolen their sacred territories. Humans called them monsters. Neither side was willing to stop. "Move out," Do-hyun ordered. "Stay low. Stay quiet." They moved through the ruins like ghosts. Every few seconds, another explosion would shake the ground. Do-hyun's heart pounded in his chest, but his hands were steady. He had been a soldier for 7 years. He had seen death many times. He had caused it too, but he had never gotten used to it. They passed a children's playground. The swings were melted. The slide had collapsed. A small toy lay in the dirt, covered in ash. Do-hyun looked away and kept moving. Then he heard something. It was faint, almost lost in the sounds of distant battle. A high-pitched cry, like a wounded animal or a child. Do-hyun stopped. He raised his fist, signaling the others to halt. "What is it?" Ji-won whispered. "I heard something." Do-hyun pointed toward a crashed ship about 50 meters to their left. It was a Kara dropship, its hull torn open and smoking. "Over there." Ji-won's eyes went wide. "That's enemy territory. We can't go there. I heard a child crying. Could be a trap." Do-hyun knew Ji-won was right. The Kira were smart. They used tricks and traps all the time. But something in that cry made Do-hyun's chest tighten. It sounded too real, too scared. "Cover me," he said. "I'm going to check." Before Ji-won could argue, Do-hyun was already moving. He ran in a low crouch, his rifle ready. The crashed ship grew larger as he approached. The metal was twisted and blackened. Bodies of Kira soldiers lay scattered around it. Their pale blue skin was burned and torn. The crying grew louder. Do-hyun climbed through a hole in the hull. Inside, the ship was dark and filled with smoke. He activated the light on his helmet and swept a beam across the wreckage, and then he saw her. A small Kira child sat in the corner, hugging her knees to her chest. She could not have been more than 5 years old in human terms. Her skin was a soft blue color, lighter than the adult Kira. Her eyes were huge and golden, filled with tears. 2 small antennae on her head glowed faintly with a scared, flickering light. Beside her lay the body of an adult Kira female. A guardian, perhaps, or a caretaker. She was dead, her chest torn open by shrapnel. The child looked up at Do-hyun. She screamed. Do-hyun quickly lowered his rifle. He held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The child did not understand his words. She pressed herself further into the corner, shaking with fear. Her antennae flickered faster. Do-hyun's mind raced. This was an enemy child, the daughter of the species that had killed thousands of his people. He should leave her. He should walk away and let the war decide her fate. But he could not. He thought of the playground outside. the melted swings, the abandoned toy. He thought of all the children who had died in this war, because adults could not stop fighting. He could not leave her. Slowly, carefully, Do-yoon knelt down. He made himself as small and non-threatening as possible. He spoke in a gentle voice, even though he knew she could not understand. "My name is Do-yoon. I'm going to help you. I promise." The child stopped screaming. She stared at him with those big golden eyes, still trembling but no longer crying. Something in his voice, perhaps, or in his calm movements, told her he was different. Then the wall behind Do-yoon exploded. A chiroplasma bolt tore through the ship, filling the air with fire and metal. Do-yoon did not think. He threw himself over the child, covering her small body with his own. The blast hit his back, slamming into his armor with the force of a hammer. Pain erupted across his shoulder and spine. He felt the heat burning through his suit. Warning lights flashed inside his helmet. But he did not move. He stayed over the child, shielding her from the flames. When the fire died down, Do-yoon could barely breathe. His back felt like it was on fire. His left arm was numb, but he forced himself to move. He forced himself to pick up the child. She was so light, so fragile. "I've got you," he whispered. "I've got you." He stumbled out of the wreckage just as Ji-won came running toward him. His friend's face went pale when he saw what Do-yoon was carrying. "What are you doing?" Ji-won shouted. "That's a Kyra. Leave it. She's a child." Do-yoon shouted back. "She's just a child." More plasma bolts flew past them. Kyra soldiers were advancing from the east, drawn by the explosion. Do-yoon ran as fast as his wounded body would allow. The child clutched tightly to his chest. Ji-won cursed loudly but followed. The other two soldiers stared in shock but kept moving. They ran through the burning streets of Nova 7, past the bodies and the rubble, past the flames and the screaming. Do-yoon's lungs burned. His legs felt like they were made of stone. But he did not stop. The evac ship was waiting at the north end of the colony. Its engines were already running. Soldiers were piling inside. When Do-yoon stumbled up the ramp with a Kyra child in his arms, everyone stopped. "What the hell is that?" The pilot demanded. "A survivor," Do-yoon said, his voice barely a whisper. "She's coming with us." "That's an alien." "She's a child." Do-yoon's eyes were hard, despite the pain. "And she's coming with us." No one moved to stop him. Perhaps it was the look in his eyes. Perhaps it was the blood running down his armor. Perhaps it was the way the small blue child clung to him, her tiny fingers gripping his suit like he was the only safe thing in the universe. The ramp closed. The ship lifted off. Nova 7 disappeared beneath clouds of smoke and fire. Do-yoon collapsed against the wall of the cargo hold, still holding the child. She had stopped shaking. Her antennae glowed softly now, a calm blue instead of a frightened white. She looked up at him with those golden eyes and made a small sound. It was not a word, but it sounded like thank you. Do-yoon closed his eyes and let the darkness take him. He did not know that his simple act of kindness had just changed the course of the entire war. He did not know that the child in his arms was the daughter of the most feared Kira commander in the Vidrinde Galaxy. He did not know that her mother was already hunting for her, and she would burn entire worlds to get her back. Do-yoon woke up to the sound of machines beeping. His body felt heavy, like someone had filled his bones with lead. He tried to move. The pain shot through his back, and he groaned. "Easy," a soft voice said. "Don't try to move yet." He opened his eyes. A woman in a white medical uniform stood beside his bed. She had kind eyes and short black hair. Her name tag read, "Yuna." "Where am I?" Do-yoon asked. His throat was dry, and his voice sounded strange. "Outpost Hala," Yuna said. You've been unconscious for 2 days. You took a bad hit to your back. The armor saved your life, but you still have burns and some internal damage. 2 days. Do-hyun tried to remember what happened. The burning colony, the crashed ship, the crying child, the child. He sat up suddenly, ignoring the pain that screamed through his body. The girl! The Kyra child. Where is she? Yuna gently pushed him back down. She's safe. She's in a holding room down the hall. She's in a holding room down the hall. Some soldiers wanted to put her in the prisoner section, but your friend Ji-won convinced them to wait until you woke up. Do-han let out a breath he did not know he was holding. I need to see her. You need to rest. I need to see her. His voice was firm. Please. Yuna studied him for a long moment. Then she sighed. Fine, but you're using a wheelchair. I'm not carrying you when you collapse. 10 minutes later, Do-hyun sat in a wheelchair outside a small room with a reinforced door. 2 guards stood on either side, looking uncomfortable. She won't eat, one guard said. Won't drink. Just sits in the corner and cries. We tried giving her food, but she throws it at us. Do-hyun nodded. Let me in. The guards exchanged looks. Sir, she's a Kyra. They're dangerous, even the young ones. She's 5 years old. Open the door. The guard shrugged and unlocked the door. Do-hyun wheeled himself inside. The room was small and bare. A simple bed sat against one wall. A tray of untouched food lay on the floor. And in the corner, huddled into a tiny ball, was Sola. She looked terrible. Her blue skin had turned pale and gray. Her antennae hung limp and dark. Her golden eyes were dull with fear and exhaustion. But when she saw Do-hyun, something changed. Her antennae lifted slightly. Her eyes grew a little brighter. She made a small sound, almost like a whimper, and stretched out her tiny arms toward him. Do-hyun felt his heart break. He wheeled closer to her, then carefully lowered himself to the floor, ignoring the pain in his back. He sat beside her, not touching, just close. Hey, he said softly. Remember me? Sola stared at him. Then, slowly, she crawled into his lap. She was so small, so light. Her tiny body trembled against his chest. Her antennae pressed against his neck, glowing softly. Do-hyun wrapped his arms around her and held her gently. It's okay, he whispered. You're safe now. I've got you. She did not understand his words, but she understood his warmth, his gentleness, his protection. For the first time in 2 days, Sola stopped crying. The door opened behind them. Yuna stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise. Behind her, the guards stared in disbelief. How did you do that? Yuna asked. She wouldn't let anyone near her. Do-hyun did not have an answer. He just held the child and let her sleep. Over the next few days, Do-hyun became Sola's unofficial guardian. He was the only one she would trust. She would eat only if he gave her the food. She would sleep only if he was nearby. When he left the room, even for a few minutes, she would cry until he returned. The other soldiers did not understand. Many of them hated the Kyra. They had lost friends and family to alien weapons. Seeing Do-hyun care for an enemy child made them angry. You're a traitor, one soldier spat at him in the cafeteria. That thing's parents probably killed my brother. Do-hyun looked at the man calmly. She's a child. She didn't kill anyone. She'd grow up to be a killer. They all do. Maybe, or maybe she'd grow up to remember that a human saved her life. Do-hyun stood up and walked away. Leaving his food untouched. Ji-won found him later, sitting alone on an observation deck. The stars stretched out endlessly before them. You're making a lot of enemies, Ji-won said, sitting beside him. I know. Command is talking about what to do with the kid. Some want to send her to a research facility. Study her. Learn about chirobiology. Daijin's hands tightened into fists. She's not a lab animal. I know that. You know that. But Command doesn't care. Ji-Wan paused. There's also talk about using her as a bargaining chip. A hostage. She's 5 years old. She's also valuable. The Kira care about their children more than anything. Having one could give us leverage. Don shook his head. I didn't save her so she could become a prisoner. Then, what did you save her for? The question hung in the air. Do-hyun thought about it for a long moment. Because it was the right thing to do, he finally said. Because someone had to. Ji-Wan sighed, but said nothing more. Meanwhile, Yuna had been helping Do-hyun communicate with Sola. She had studied Kira language during her medical training. It was basic knowledge, useful for treating wounded prisoners. But now she used it to teach Do-hyun simple words. Myra means water, Yuna explained. Senna means food. Keth means safe or protected. Do-hyun practiced the words with Sola. Her face would light up whenever he spoke her language, even badly. She would giggle at his pronunciation, a sound that seemed impossible coming from an alien child. One evening, while Do-hyun was feeding her, Sola looked up at him and spoke. Mari, she said, touching his face with her small blue hand. Do-hyun looked at Yuna, who was watching from the doorway. What does that mean? Yuna's expression was strange, almost confused. I'm not sure. It's not in any of the basic dictionaries. It might be an old word, or maybe a cultural term. Do-hyun looked back at Sola. She was smiling at him, her antennae glowing a warm gold. Mari, she said again, more firmly this time. He did not know what it meant, but he knew it was important. 3 days later, the news came. Commander Vela, the most feared Cairo warrior in the known galaxy, had launched a massive attack on 3 human supply stations. Her fleet had destroyed everything and everyone. The casualties were in the thousands. And she had sent a message. The entire outpost gathered to watch the broadcast. On the screen appeared a Kira female unlike any Do-hyun had seen before. She was tall and powerful, with skin the color of a winter sky. Her eyes were gold, burning with fury. She wore armor covered in symbols and markings, but Do-hyun barely noticed any of that. He noticed her antennae. They were the same shape as Sola's. He noticed her eyes. The same shade of gold. He noticed the raw, desperate pain in her voice. You have taken my daughter, Vela said, her voice shaking with rage. You have stolen my child from me. I do not know which of you has her. I do not care. Return her to me now, or I will destroy every human station, every human ship, every human world until I find her. This is not a threat. This is a promise. You have 3 days. The screen went dark. The room was silent. Do-hyun felt the blood drain from his face. He looked down at Sola, who sat peacefully in his lap, playing with a piece of string. He had saved the daughter of the dog. Storm, the most dangerous Kira in the galaxy, was coming for her, and she would burn everything in her path. The outpost was in chaos. Alarms blared through the corridors. Soldiers ran in every direction, preparing for an attack that could come at any moment. Fear hung in the air like a thick fog. Do-hyun sat in his small room, holding Sola close. She could sense that something was wrong. Her antennae flickered nervously, and she made small whimpering sounds against his chest. It's okay, he whispered, even though it was not okay. Nothing was okay. The door slid open. Ji-Wan stepped inside, his face pale and serious. Command knows, Ji-Wan said. They know you're the one who brought her. Do-hyun had expected this. What do they want? They want to use her. Send a message back to the Kira commander. Tell her we have her daughter and we're willing to negotiate. Ji-Wan paused. Some of them want to threaten to hurt the child if Vela doesn't back off. Do-hyun's arms tightened around Sola. Over my dead body. That's exactly what I told them. Ji-won sat down heavily. But they're scared, Do-hyun. Vela destroyed 3 stations in 2 days. Thousands dead. And she's not stopping. Her fleet is moving toward us right now. We have maybe 18 hours before she reaches Outpost Hala. 18 hours. Do-hyun looked down at Sola. She had fallen asleep, her small face peaceful and innocent. She had no idea that her mother was coming to tear apart the stars to find her. What do you think I should do? Do-hyun asked. Ji-won was quiet for a long moment. I think you should give her back. What? Not to command. Not as a hostage. Ji-won leaned forward. I mean, you should return her yourself. Directly to her mother. Do-hyun stared at his friend. That's suicide. Vela will kill me the moment she sees me. Maybe. Probably. Ji-won shrugged. But if command uses that child as a weapon, this war will never end. Vela will hunt humanity until there's nothing left of us or her. Is that what you want? No, that was not what Do-hyun wanted. He thought about what he had done on Nova 7. He had saved Sola because it was right. Because she was innocent. Because no child deserved to die in a war they did not start. If he let command turn her into a hostage, everything he did would mean nothing. I need a ship, Do-hyun said quietly. Ji-won smiled. It was a sad, tired smile. I know. That's why I already got you one. An hour later, Do-hyun stood in a small cargo bay with Ji-won, Yuna, and a stolen shuttle. The ship was old and beaten up, but its engines worked. That was all that mattered. This is crazy, Yuna said, loading medical supplies into the shuttle. You're going to fly into the middle of a Cairo war fleet and just hand over the child? That's the plan, Do-hyun said. That's a terrible plan. It's the only plan I have. Yuna sighed deeply. Then she handed him a small device. This is a translation unit. It's basic, but it should help you communicate with the Kara. I also wrote down some important phrases. Things that might keep you alive for a few extra seconds. Do-hyun took the device. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't die. She paused. And take care of that little girl. She trusts you. Ji-won stepped forward and gripped Do-hyun's shoulder. When you broadcast to Vela, make sure she sees Sola first. Make sure she sees that the child is safe and healthy. That might be the only thing that stops her from shooting you down immediately. Do-hyun nodded. And if it doesn't work, then it was nice knowing you, brother. Ji-won's eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. You're doing the right thing. Whatever happens, remember that. Do-hyun picked up Sola, who was wrapped in a warm blanket. She woke briefly, looked at him with those golden eyes, and then snuggled closer to his chest. Mari, she murmured sleepily. Do-hyun climbed into the shuttle and strapped himself in. The cargo bay doors opened, revealing the endless darkness of space. He started the engines. Do-hyun. Ji-won's voice came through the communicator. Good luck. Thanks. Do-hyun pushed the throttle forward. I'll need it. The shuttle shot out into space, leaving Outpost Hala behind. Do-hyun set a course for the neutral zone, a small region of space between human and Kira territory. It was the only place where they might have a chance to talk without being shot immediately. As he flew, he prepared his message. He positioned Sola in front of the communication camera. She was awake now, playing with the straps of the seat. Her antennae glowed softly, calm and content. Do-hyun took a deep breath and opened a channel on the Kira military frequency. Commander Vela, he said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. My name is Sergeant Do-hyun of the Earth Colonial Marines. I have your daughter. He paused, letting the words sink in. She is safe. She is healthy. She is not a prisoner. I am bringing her to you now, alone and unarmed. I ask only for a chance to return her peacefully. Please respond. He ended the transmission and waited. The minutes felt like hours. Sola had stopped playing and was now watching him with curious eyes. She could probably sense his fear, his uncertainty. But she did not cry. She just reached out her small hand and touched his arm. "Mari," she said. Do-hyun managed a small smile. "That's right, Mari." Then the communication screen lit up. A face appeared. It was Vela. The same fierce eyes, the same powerful presence. But this time, Do-hyun saw something else beneath the anger. He saw fear. The fear of a mother who had lost her child. Vela's eyes moved to Sola, who was visible on the camera. For a moment, the fierce commander's expression cracked. Her lips trembled. Her eyes grew wet. "Sola," she whispered. "My little one." Sola saw her mother and made an excited sound. "Mama! Mama!" Vala's hands gripped the edge of her command console. Her whole body shook. Then her eyes moved to Do-hyun, and the softness vanished. Cold fury replaced it. "Human," she said, her voice like ice. "You have my daughter. You took her from Nova 7. I saved her," Do-hyun said carefully. "She was alone, injured. Her guardian was dead. I could not leave her. You could have given her to your superiors. Used her as a weapon against me. I did not. I will not." Vela studied him through the screen. Her eyes searched his face, looking for lies, for tricks. Do-hyun held her gaze and did not look away. "Why?" Vela finally asked. "Why would you risk your life to return her? We are enemies. Your people and mine have been killing each other for 10 years. Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about Nova 7, the burning buildings, the crying child. The moment when he chose to shield her with his own body. Because she was scared, he said simply. Because she was alone. Because she is a child who did nothing wrong. Because... He paused, struggling to find the right words. Because the war takes enough from us. I did not want it to take her too. Vela was silent. Her golden eyes never left his face. Finally, she spoke. There is a moon in the neutral zone. Coordinates sending now. Meet me there in 6 hours. Come alone. If I see any human ships, any weapons, anything that looks like a trap, I will destroy you and take my daughter from your wreckage. Understood, Do-hyun said, and human. Vela's voice softened, just slightly. If you have hurt her in any way, if there is even a single mark on her body, I will make your death last for years. She is unharmed. I swear it. Vela ended the transmission. Do-hyun let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. His heart was racing. But he was still alive. And he had a chance. He looked at Sola, who was still calling for her mama, reaching toward the now dark screen. Don't worry, Do-hyun said softly. You'll see her soon. I promise. He set course for the moon and flew into the unknown dot in 6 hours. He would face the most dangerous Kyra in the galaxy. He had no weapons. No backup. No plan beyond giving back a mother's child. But somehow, deep in his heart, Do-hyun felt that this was exactly where he was supposed to be. The moon was gray and lifeless. No plants grew on its surface. No water flowed. It was just rock and dust beneath a sky full of distant stars. A perfect place for a meeting that might end in death. Do-hyun landed his shuttle in a flat area near a cluster of ancient boulders. Through the window, he could see them. Kyra ships, dozens of them, hovering in the sky like giant metal birds waiting to strike. On the ground, 100 warriors stood in perfect formation. Their armor gleamed in the pale light. Their weapons were ready, and at the front stood Vela. She was even more impressive in person. Tall and powerful, with skin like a frozen lake and eyes that burned like twin suns. She wore ceremonial armor covered in symbols that Do-hyun did not understand. A long blade hung at her side. Do-hyun took a deep breath. This was it. He picked up Sola and held her close. The little girl's antennae flickered with excitement. She could see the other Kyra through the window. She could see her mother. "Mama," she whispered. "Mama?" "That's right," Do-Hyun said softly. "We're going to see your mama now." He opened the shuttle door and stepped outside. The moment his feet touched the ground, every Kara weapon pointed at him. The sound of 100 guns charging filled the air. Do-Hyun's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. He held Sola in front of him, making sure everyone could see that she was safe. He walked forward slowly, each step feeling like a mile. Vela did not move. She stood like a statue, her eyes fixed on her daughter. As Do-Hyun got closer, he could see her face more clearly. The anger was still there, but beneath it was something else. Hope, desperation, love. He stopped 10 meters away from her. Close enough to talk. Close enough for her to kill him in a single strike. "Commander Vala," he said, his voice steady despite everything. "I have kept my promise. Your daughter is safe." Sola squirmed in his arms, reaching toward her mother. "Mama! Mama!" Vala's composure cracked. She dropped to her knees and opened her arms. Do-Hyun set Sola down, and the little girl ran to her mother as fast as her small legs could carry her. Vala caught her daughter and pulled her close. She held her so tightly, as if she was afraid Sola might disappear again. Her shoulders shook. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. She whispered words in her language, words that Do-Hyun did not understand but could feel. A mother's love. A mother's relief. A mother's prayer answered. The warriors around them lowered their weapons slightly. Even they seemed moved by the scene. For a long moment, no one spoke. Vala just held her daughter, crying softly into her small shoulder. Sola wrapped her tiny arms around her mother's neck and held on. Then something happened that Do-Hyun did not expect. Sola turned in her mother's arms and reached back toward him. "Mari," she called out, her voice clear and strong. "Mari!" Vala froze. She looked at her daughter, then at Do-Hyun, then back at her daughter. "What did you say?" Vala asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Mari," Sola said again, still reaching for Do-Hyun. "He is my Mari. He kept me safe in the dark. He protected me when the fire came." A ripple of shock passed through the Kyra warriors. They exchanged glances, their expressions confused and uncertain. Vala set Sola down gently and stood up. She walked toward Do-Hyun, her golden eyes locked on his face. He forced himself not to step back, not to show fear. She stopped right in front of him. So close, he could feel the cold radiating from her skin. So close, he could see every line of her face, every emotion in her eyes. "Do you know what that word means?" she asked. "Mari?" Do-Hyun shook his head. "No, I tried to find out, but no one could tell me. It is an ancient word, from the old times before our people traveled the stars." Vala's voice was soft now, almost gentle. "Mari means one who shields, one who protects at the cost of their own life. It is the highest honor Akira can give to another." Do-Hyun's breath caught in his throat. When a child gives this title to someone, it creates a bond that cannot be broken. The Mari becomes family, not by blood, but by spirit, by sacrifice. Vala paused. "My daughter has given you this title. She has claimed you as her protector, as her shield." Do-Hyun did not know what to say. He looked at Sola, who smiled at him and waved her tiny hand. "I did not ask for this," he said finally. "I just wanted to keep her safe. That is exactly why she chose you." Vala studied him for a long moment. "Tell me, human, why did you save my daughter? Tell me the truth." Do-Hyun met her eyes. "Because I could not watch another child die. Because the war has taken too much already. Because when I looked at her, I did not see an enemy. I saw a scared little girl who needed help. And the burns on your back? My warriors scanned your ship. They told me you have severe plasma burns. Old wounds, healing. I shielded her, Dohyun said simply. On Nova 7, there was an explosion. I covered her with my body. Vela's eyes widened. You took a plasma blast meant for a Kyra child. It was not a choice. It was just what I did. Silence fell over the gathering. The Kira warriors stared at Dohyun with new expressions. Confusion, wonder, something that might have been respect. Vela took a step back. Then, slowly, she lowered herself to one knee. Her hand came up and pressed against her chest, over her heart. Dohyun recognized the gesture. Yuna had told him about it. It was the Kyra sign of deepest respect, given only to those who had proven themselves worthy beyond all doubt. You have done what no enemy has ever done, Vela said, her voice carrying across the silent gathering. You have protected my daughter with your own blood. You have returned her to me without asking for anything in return. By the old laws of my people, this cannot go unanswered. She rose and took another step toward him. Her hand reached out and pressed against his chest, just over his heart. From this moment forward, you are no longer my enemy. You are Mari Valen, guardian of my bloodline. You belong to my house. You belong to my family. Her golden eyes held his. You belong to us. Dohyun felt the weight of her words settle over him like a warm blanket. He did not fully understand everything they meant, but he understood enough. He was no longer alone. I don't know if my people will accept this, he said quietly. I don't know if your people will either. My people will accept what I command them to accept. Vela's voice was firm. And your people, they will learn. In time, she turned and picked up Sola, who immediately reached out to touch Dohyun's arm. Mari stays with us? Sola asked hopefully. Vela looked at Dohyun. For the first time, he saw something like a smile on her face. If he wishes to, she said. He may stay as long as he wants. Dohyun looked at the gray moon beneath his feet. He looked at the stars above. He thought about Outpost Hala, about G1 and Yuna, about everything he was leaving behind. Then he looked at Sola's hopeful face, at Vela's steady gaze, and he knew what his answer was. I will stay, he said. For now. To help build something new. Something better than war. Vela nodded slowly. Then come, Guardian. There is much work to be done. She turned and walked toward her ship, Sola in her arms. After a moment's hesitation, Dohyun followed. The Kyra warriors parted to let him pass. Some still looked at him with suspicion, others with curiosity. A few even bowed their heads slightly as he walked by. He was walking into the unknown, into a world of aliens who had been his enemies just days ago. But for the first time in years, Dohyun felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. The Kira homeworld was beautiful in ways Dohyun had never imagined. Tall crystal towers rose toward a purple sky. Gardens of glowing flowers spread across hillsides like living paintings. Rivers of silver water wound through ancient forests where trees sang in the wind. It had been 1 week since Dohyun had stepped onto this alien world. 1 week since he had become Mari Valen, guardian of Vela's bloodline. 1 week since everything he knew had changed. He stood on a balcony of Vela's estate, watching Sola play in the garden below. She was chasing small creatures that looked like flying lights, laughing as they danced around her head. Her antennae glowed bright gold with happiness. Dohyun smiled. It was strange how quickly he had grown to love this alien child. Strange, but somehow natural. Footsteps approached behind him. He turned to see Vela walking toward him. She no longer wore her battle armor. Instead, she was dressed in flowing robes of deep blue, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger, softer, less like a feared commander and more like a mother. "She has not stopped talking about you," Vala said, joining him at the balcony edge. "Every morning she asks when she can see her Mari. Every night she begs me to let you tell her stories before sleep." "I only know human stories," Do-Hyun said. "I don't know if they translate well." She does not care about the words. She cares about the voice, about the feeling. Vela paused. "She feels safe with you. That is rare for a Kyra child. We are taught from birth that the universe is dangerous, that we must be strong, that trust is weakness." That sounds like a hard way to grow up. It is, but it keeps us alive. Vela turned to face him. "Until now, I believed that softness was death, that mercy was failure. Then you saved my daughter, and I realized that perhaps we have been wrong about many things." Do-Hyun did not know what to say. He looked back at Sola, who had caught one of the flying lights in her hands and was giggling at its glow. "The High Council has summoned you," Vela said. "They wish to meet the human who has become Mari Valen. Is that good or bad? I do not know. Some council members want peace. They are tired of war. Others want to execute you and continue fighting until humanity is destroyed." Vela's expression was grim. "High Mother Kessa leads the council. She's ancient and wise. Her decision will determine everything." Do-Hyun took a deep breath. "When do we go?" Now, the council chamber was the largest room Do-Hyun had ever seen. It was carved from a single piece of black stone, with walls that rose so high they disappeared into shadow. Hundreds of Kyra sat in tiered seats, their eyes all fixed on him as he entered. At the center of the chamber sat High Mother Kessa. She was old beyond imagination. Her blue skin faded to pale gray, her antennae thin and fragile. But her eyes were sharp and bright, full of intelligence that made Do-Hyun feel like she could see straight through him. Vela walked beside him until they reached the center of the chamber. Then she stepped back, leaving Do-Hyun alone. "Human," High Mother Kessa spoke, her voice surprisingly strong. "You stand before the council of a people you have called enemy, a people you have fought against, a people who have killed many of your kind, just as your kind has killed many of ours." Do-Hyun nodded slowly but did not speak. "Yet here you are, not in chains, not as a prisoner, but as Mari Valen, guardian of one of our most honored bloodlines." Kessa leaned forward. "Tell me, human. Tell me why. Tell me everything." So Do-Hyun told her. He told her about Nova 7, about the burning colony and the crying child, about the moment he chose to shield Sola with his own body instead of leaving her to die, about the weeks on Outpost Hala, where he had become her protector despite everything. He told her about his past, about his younger sister, who had died in a Kyra raid when he was too young to save her, about the guilt he had carried for years, about how saving Sola felt like a chance to finally do something right. He told her about the flight to the neutral zone, about facing Vela with nothing but faith, about choosing peace over war, trust over fear. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Kessa studied him for a long time. Her ancient eyes moved across his face, searching for something. Finally, she spoke. "Your kind wages war with fire and steel," she said. "You destroy without mercy. You take without asking. For 10 years, we have seen humans as beasts, creatures without souls." She paused. The silence pressed down like a weight. "But you are different." Kessa rose from her seat, moving slowly but with great dignity. "You did not see an enemy child. You saw a scared little girl. You did not think of advantage or strategy. You thought only of protection, of kindness, of love." She walked down the steps toward him, each movement careful and deliberate. "This is not the act of a beast. This is the act of something greater." She stopped in front of him and looked into his eyes. Tell me, human, do you believe peace is possible between our peoples? Da-Hyun thought carefully before answering. I don't know if it's possible, but I believe it's worth trying. War brings nothing but death and pain. Maybe there's a better way. A better way. Kessa smiled, and it transformed her ancient face into something beautiful. Yes, perhaps there is. She turned to face the council. Hear me, children of Kyra. This human is no beast. He has proven himself through sacrifice and mercy. He's Mari Valen, bound by the oldest laws of our people. He is family. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some voices were angry. Others were uncertain, but many nodded in agreement. I declare a ceasefire, Kessa continued. Effective immediately. We will send word to the human governments. We will negotiate. We will try to find this better way. More murmurs. Louder now. But Kessa raised her hand, and silence fell. And this human, this Doan, will be our bridge. He has walked in both worlds. He has shown that connection is possible. She looked back at him. Will you accept this duty, Guardian? Do-Hyun thought about everything that had led into this moment. The fire and death of Nova 7. The small hands of a frightened child clinging to him. The long journey across enemy space. The moment when Vela had knelt before him and called him family. Yes, he said. I accept. Months passed. The ceasefire held. Negotiations began, slow and difficult, but real. Doan traveled between human and Kira space, carrying messages and building trust one conversation at a time. Thought it was not easy. Many humans hated him for what he had become. Many Kyras still distrusted him. There were setbacks and failures, moments when everything seemed ready to collapse. But every time Do-Hyun felt ready to give up, he would return to Vela's estate. He would watch Solo playing in the glowing gardens. He would feel the warmth of a family that had chosen him, and he would remember why he was doing this one evening. After a particularly difficult day of negotiations, Do-Hyun sat on the balcony, watching the twin moons rise over the crystal towers. Sola had fallen asleep in his lap, her antennae pulsing softly with peaceful dreams. Vela joined him, sitting close enough that their shoulders almost touched. You look tired, she said quietly. I am tired, he admitted. Sometimes I wonder if any of this will work. If peace is really possible. It may not be. We may fail. Vela looked up at the moons. But we are trying. That is more than anyone has done in 10 years. Do-Hyun looked down at Sola's sleeping face. So peaceful. So innocent. So unaware of the weight on his shoulders. Why did you accept me so easily? He asked suddenly. After everything our peoples have done to each other. After all the death. Why? Vela was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Because my daughter looked at you with trust. Because she reached for you when she could have reached for me. Because a mother knows when someone truly loves her child. She turned to look at him. And because I saw the scars on your back. The marks of the fire you took for her. No enemy does that. Only family. She reached out and placed her hand over his heart. The same gesture she had made on the moon. You asked me once what it means to belong to us, she said. It means you will never stand alone again. It means your battles are our battles. Your home is our home. Your life is our life. Her golden eyes held his. It means you are loved, Do-Hyun. Simply and completely. As one of our own. Do-Hyun felt tears prick at his eyes. He had not cried in years. But here, on an alien world, under unfamiliar moons, he finally let himself feel the weight of everything he had been carrying. The loneliness, the guilt, the fear that he would never belong anywhere. And suddenly, it was gone. He looked at Sola, still sleeping peacefully in his arms. And Vela, her hand warm over his heart, at the strange and beautiful world that had somehow become home. "Thank you," he whispered. Vela smiled. "Thank you, Mari, for everything." They sat together in silence, watching the moons rise higher into the sky. Somewhere out there, humans in Cairo were still learning to trust each other, still struggling to build a new future. It would be hard. It would take years, maybe decades, but sitting here with his new family, Dahyun believed it was possible, because if war could be stopped by one act of kindness, then maybe peace could be built by 1,000 more, and he intended to be there for every single one.